We interrupt your regularly scheduled podcast to bring you a conspiracy episode that may forever change your life. You have been warned.
Welcome to Reselling Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando. And this is episode 101, the conspiracy episode.
That's right. And I think it's kind of ironic that it's episode 101 because usually that's like, 101. It's like the beginning, like what you teach.
Do we still need to talk in these voices?
Well, let me just say this episode is a very serious episode. But with a disclaimer, first of all, that everything in here is just a conspiracy. This is all for entertainment. We do hope to provide some value with our discussion and our hustle of the week, but some of the things we're going to be presenting are not confirmed. We take no legal responsibility for anything that is said here. These are conspiracies. So,
fictitious events, possibly.
Or possibly very real. We don't know. We don't know.
I'm trying to keep a straight face, Mike, while we do this podcast.
You should have a straight face because
I'm worried because these are real.
This is real. And
this is the most awkward beginning to any of our podcasts yet.
It's fine.
It's all good.
All right. Because we have here.
Oh, that's right.
Very important.
You told me about this.
Yeah. So we received a call and I didn't know what to do with it. So we figured just for the sake of this person putting themselves out there on the line, that we would honor them and play this because it's one of the most enlightening and possibly disturbing things I've ever heard. So are you ready for this?
I hope so.
All right.
Hello? I'm not sure if I should be contacting you guys, but you promised that you would keep my identity safe. I know that eBay is listening, but it's crucial that this information, it's got to get out. I worked closely with Devin, and I know that he was getting a lot of pressure from the Illuminati to continue to hand over information on their sellers. We already have the GPS tracking information and buying habits of all eBay sellers and buyers, but they wanted to begin using the camera app to monitor everyone even more closely. Let me just say that his leaving was no accident, and the glitches that followed are simply bugs from the monitoring program. When the eBay secret tunnels used by Tupac and Elvis were... Wait, they're here. Stop! Ah!
Whoa.
Yeah.
The guy called us from a landline.
Yeah. And used an encrypted line. So we have no way of tracking who this person was and what happened to this person. We genuinely hope that they're okay. But man, what do you think? Right off the bat, Illuminati? Are you serious?
I don't know. Why are we starting the podcast so deep?
Well, I mean,
like that's like next level.
I'm gonna take the hood off.
All right.
It gets hot.
Well, in a real world scenario, don't know. Who knows? And to be honest, whether the
or not
Tupac and Elvis tunnels.
This isn't the first I've heard of it.
That is
I have
true.
heard other people talk about it. So the fact that this person claims to have worked closely with Devin. So
okay, well, I heard that those tunnels lead back to San Jose.
Yeah, directly to the eBay headquarters.
The eBay headquarters, and so part of it was like they wanted that intel and they wanted information. So I don't know, but you know what? This is one of those that we just have to leave you as the listeners to kind of figure out on your own.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially when we're talking about, I even hesitate to use the word Illuminati. I feel like we might be demonetized on this episode.
Oh, wow. So are we calling it the secret group that shall not be named?
Well, I mean, we've already named them. And I mentioned before, the fact that we're even doing this episode, if PRSL Podcast goes away, if there's no episode 102, you guys know. You will understand.
You know what happened.
You know what happened. Nobody needs to make that more clear. So, but anyways,
what a great start to our conspiracy episode. Like of all the conspiracies, and even one that we're not even willing to elaborate on.
Yeah, I don't. Like I said, I wasn't even going to play it. I thought about contacting law enforcement, but I was like, I don't.
Can you?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know who's one of them, I
mean, think of the technology. I mean, eBay with their technology to widen out backgrounds. Imagine what they can do now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's scary. I mean, they've got the the camera apps. I mean, the app is on your phone. I mean, who knows what the permissions are set
I
to?
remember hearing Ed Snowden talking about that your camera can turn on at any time, right, and watch you. So it may be
We're definitely
happening.
demonetized now.
We are demonetized now. All right. Well, with that being said, it is Conspiracy Episode 101, and we appreciate you all that have decided to chime in and shoot us DMs about what we need to discuss and what we need to talk about. And so some of these are out there and some of these are kind of legit, and there's some reality to them.
Yeah. Well, some of them, like I feel aren't even really conspiracies. It's just like, yeah, obviously. But some of them are out there. So let's talk about it. We'll see how it goes, and maybe we can have some useful information that comes from it.
Yes.
And
or at least something that you can listen to while you're listing, packing, sending in shipments, or sending in packages that's sold, whatever it is.
that's right.
We're here for you. Even if you just want us as background noise, maybe not in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. when it's dark outside, but unless you like a little bit of suspense.
Okay, now you're just getting weird. It's creepy now.
Why?
I don't know.
That's as creepy or cringy as the intro to our podcast. Anyways, hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate all of you. So I want to start with people actually believe this to be true.
Well, some of them. So yeah, some of them. There's. I mean, it's not going to be a conspiracy unless there's at least a few people out there who are like dead set on it. And some of these things might be verified, some aren't. But as far as we know, this one isn't necessarily verified. But there are people who at least think it was. So do you want to explain the first one for us?
Well, do you remember, have you gotten it on eBay when they had the door? Okay, so back in the day, I don't think I see it anymore. I looked for it, but there used to be a door. Those of you that have been reselling for a while. So there was like an eBay door and it was different colors, right? Kind of like the star. You see the star? Do you know what the star means?
Mm-mm.
Like you get a different color based on
right.
how long you've sold and your feedback and stuff like that. And I really don't know. Like back in the day, actually eBay used to send you certificates. Like when you reach a goal. I wish they did that still. I don't know.
Yeah, we could have them plastered on our wall behind
There
us.
you go. Like fill up the wall.
Our
right?
accolades.
We'll never have the YouTube one, but hey,
you
we
can put that on a
eBay
resume.
one.
Like when you go to get another job, you could be like, well, I have a super ultimate platinum star from eBay as being an incredible eBayer. So
I think it'd be cool.
Put that on your resume.
I think, it definitely would be something I would look forward to. So if you're listening to eBay, we would love to get an eBay star on our background.
Yeah. But what's up with this doors thing?
So supposedly the doors change colors based on whether your store was on or off. Right. And so from what I've heard, and I've actually heard this from eBay employees, I've actually heard this from resellers that we've interviewed. And they've actually discussed that, yes, people did back in the day actually believe this to be true. And, there is this theory that eBay turns off your store sometimes, right? We've kind of talked about this a little bit. People call it rolling blackouts. They call it throttling. There's a bunch of other names for it. So where do you land on this one, Mike?
I don't know. I mean, it only makes sense to me that they would do something like that if it was financially beneficial for them. So 99.999% of the time, I would imagine it's financially beneficial for them to have everybody active at all times. The only time I would imagine that they would do throttling is if they are specifically punishing bad behavior, maybe, right? So if they recognize that a seller or a buyer is abusing the system, maybe has too many bad, reviews or something like that, I would imagine that throttling would make sense there because that would protect them financially. If they're constantly if they have bad buyer experience on their platform, if they have a bad seller experience. And we kind of talked about that when they talked about a specific discipline process for buyers when we were at eBay Open.
That is true. They did share that with us.
And so they didn't go into all the details of what happened at each step, but there were various steps during that, the buyer was made aware, like this is currently the discipline step you're under. But it makes sense. I mean, we all know that different platforms, different programs do use throttling and do favor certain content over others. But to me, eBay doesn't seem to be one of those because nobody's putting out like political opinions. Nobody's putting out stuff that would be, it's all money. eBay's going to make money when their sellers are making money.
Yeah, but I think we've discussed that, and you can it's very easy to do. I mean, all you have to do is, log out of your store and go in as a guest and then try to find your items. And sometimes you'll go there and you won't find them. I haven't found them sometimes, right? Things I just listed. And there can be various reasons. And I'll throw Amazon a little bit. So you'll notice on Amazon, those of you that Amazon FBA, and I've noticed this last year, and I talked about this in previous podcasts, where I'll send a bunch of items and my price won't be the buy box price, but my item will still sell even though it's a little bit higher than the buy box price. And I think it's because of geographic region. You know what I mean? So it's the item that Amazon has the easiest time shipping within that one day that they're trying to get to. So I think a lot of that could be eBay, right? They're going to draw to people that can get the shipping out faster, right? They're going to also draw to, let's say there's 100 of the same thing, right? And this person's in this one region and they want to provide the ultimate customer satisfaction, right? They may push those higher in the search or may, leave some out. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense that they would favor some over the other, but the whole idea of completely stopping somebody's stuff from being seen, I don't see that being the case. I think more often than not, the reason why you can't find something immediately after listing it is usually because it takes the system a while to crawl through and update, and systems are constantly updating. But even like, for instance, when we post something to the podcast, sometimes it could take 10 or 15 minutes before it starts showing up in people's feed, even though it's there and some people can get it. Like, it takes a while for things like the cache and the whatever to like re-upload and to kind of recognize that it's there and then to figure out where it fits in the search results. And so I don't think it's malicious. It doesn't, if maybe somebody could convince me why it would be financially beneficial, because we got to remember, eBay's a business, right? If they can convince me why it would be financially beneficial for them to not allow somebody's stuff to sell, other than they're trying to discipline or prevent somebody who's selling things that aren't real, and they're trying to maybe, kind of put it on pause until they can verify this person or something to that effect. But it just doesn't make sense. It does make sense that they would favor some people. And we talk about that a lot. Like when we talk about the algorithm, like we don't believe in like some voodoo thing where, like you do certain things and you wear certain color socks and all of a sudden eBay's going to promote your stuff, right? Like, but the idea is eBay, their algorithm is trying to figure out the best way to make the most amount of money. And so if they see that somebody, and the reason why I think there is benefit to posting frequently, if they see that there's a seller who's not very active, they are only occasionally putting stuff, the stuff they're putting doesn't sell very often, but there's somebody who is a like very valued customer, they're going to give them a little bit more VIP treatment, right? They're going to push their stuff closer up to the top because, hey, we want to keep this person happy so they don't jump ship. That makes sense to me, but completely getting rid of somebody, I don't see why that would be beneficial for eBay.
No, I hear that. I mean, there could be another side though to it, in the sense that, like you had talked about when you initially were a seller, you kind of, I was talking about summer slowdown. You're like, what's summer slowdown? Mm-hmm. Right. And so there is a benefit to them to having new sellers have their stuff higher in the search. Yeah. Right. To hook them in.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Get their sales. So there's that. And, according to, the door conspiracy, right? The colors, obviously probably not the case, but it's kind of interesting because I've had people, they've actually DM'd us and talked to us, and I'm not saying this is true, but they've mentioned the fact that eBay has talked about refreshing people's stores. Have you ever heard that before? Have I shared that with you?
I mean, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So what it means is sometimes you may have, especially since good till canceled happened, where everybody had to go good to canceled, a lot of items went stale, right? So after 90 days, your stuff goes stale, right? So sales might grow cold or whatever reason. Some have talked about that, I don't know, they've called eBay and eBay says, well, we'll refresh your store, whatever that means. Right. So obviously I don't have the answers. It's all conspiracy. But I do think there's something to be said that, like you said, if it's inactive, right? And so, for instance, if you just have a bunch of inventory, let's say you sourced a bunch of inventory and you listed it 120 days ago, and all that inventory is stuff that never sold, it's very possible that no matter what you do, you're not going to get sales.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I believe in that completely, because if you're the only one with the Lego city, whatever, and that's what somebody's searching for,
no, that's true.
It's gonna sell. So
that is true.
So it does. I do understand where people come from, where it's like, if you source the right stuff, it's gonna sell. It doesn't matter whether you list one item once a month or you list 100 items religiously, exactly 7.5 items per day. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, so I get that. Like, I get that if you're sourcing the right thing, if you have 120 things and none of them are selling, you didn't source the right stuff, because it's going to show up in the listings unless there's a reason for it not to. If it's doesn't have all the information in there. There's something wrong. Maybe they flagged you of like, hey, this is a new person. They're trying to sell like, Louis Vuitton bags and we haven't really verified them yet. I could see why they would kind of be hesitant with that, but it still doesn't make sense to me why they would not have your stuff up there. Like if your stuff is on eBay and it's searchable now, and again, eBay is not like Craigslist where your thing you just get to push down to the bottom. If you've got all the right stuff in there and it's the best match to what the customer's searching for, it's going to be closer to the top.
Yeah, I do think there is truth to the fact that they would favor the larger sellers.
Yeah, but favoring is very different from making it so your stuff isn't there at all.
Oh no, I agree with that. I don't think your stuff disappears. I just don't think everybody sees it. In the
Maybe
sense
not on the first page. If you're that much competition, then yeah, like if you're not the lowest price, because people filter by lowest price. Right?
I don't know. I've gone on there and I've searched for stuff and it's just my stuff is just not there. So again, it's still maybe there, but it's maybe not there for me, or for whatever reason, the algorithm decided to show something else. I don't know. Let us know in the comments. Have you experienced the same? Because this has been going on for over a decade. I mean, you can type in traffic conspiracy eBay. You type in, what was the other thing they call it? Rolling blackouts eBay. You type in throttling eBay. Everything that we're saying right now is an ongoing conspiracy, right? The reality, this is actually tied into our other conspiracy, which we wanted to talk about was, does listing really affect, how much you end up selling? And the answer I have for that one is I don't know. And I'll give you two examples. I know of one couple that they are full-time sellers and they only list on Mondays and Tuesdays, but they do it consistently. They don't list the rest of the week and they keep having sales, right? I know others that, they list almost every day and they list, 25 items and they get consistent sales. I know others that, will just pound it out and do like 200 listings in a day and they'll get sales. So there is one thing I do know is if you're not listing, you're not going to get sales. That's a guaranteed.
Well,
you're not going to get, like after a while, it will taper off.
But that's just, I think that there's almost a logical fallacy there, because if you've got 20 items in a store, the chances of one of those 20 items selling is lower than if you're listing 5 items every single day. The end of the week, you're going to have 25 items. You doubled your store, you double your chances of selling stuff. So some of that is just the more you have, the more likely you're going to sell. I don't think it necessarily is the algorithm, as it were, right? Like some of it is just the more things you have. If you've got 500 items in your store, you're more likely to sell things than if you have 50 items in your store. So you could say like, I listed more and I've got more sales, therefore listing more got me more sales. Or you could say, people are looking for the things that I have, and if I only had 50 things.
True, but if you're in a saturated market, activity is going to help you out. So when we talked to eBay employees at this last eBay Open, activity was a major thing, whether it was sending offers, whether it was altering your prices, like if you have stale inventory, going to your prices and then reducing your prices, whether it was, just going in there and, switching a few things up, adding new pictures, whatever it was. If you're in a saturated field, activity that triggers things will definitely help. Right. And I'll give you an example right now. Q4, it doesn't matter. Like I have sold more in this last week than I've sold probably in a few months. Like let's say back when things were slow in March or April for me, which is kind of weird that things were slow in March, but when things were slow. And so I have done absolutely nothing with eBay. Now I have been sending offers. So that's one thing. But as far as listing and doing any of those things, I haven't. So people wanted what I had. It didn't matter. Right. But if you're in a field where you're trying to sell the same thing as everybody else, activity is definitely going to matter. So
yeah, fair enough.
Were you trying to do some searches right now and see?
Oh, no, I was just prepping for my hustle of the week.
Oh, all right.
All right. So here's our next one.
Okay.
And this one isn't, I don't even know why we would call it a conspiracy. This is one of the ones I would say, like, obviously.
Well, now it is.
But Amazon using seller data to its own advantage. And I think that's not just a conspiracy. Like could this be happening? But I feel like if you, I want to be sensitive here, but I feel like you had to know that going in. Like you have to know that. Like in our world, in our day and age, data information is king. There is nothing, like money is valuable. Information and data is the number one way to get that money and all kinds of other things, right? So Amazon, like we talked about this back when when you first started like getting into Amazon FBA, we were talking about like Amazon Prime and then like doing the movie service and how they're, and a big part of it was they were not trying, but it was like they could find out more about their customers by what movies they watch and can kind of point advertisements to them. And in this world, like in this day and age, we know that companies are collecting data and information. Like you can't deny that. And I think when you're a seller on the platform, and one of the things is Amazon is such a monumental, gigantic force in the reselling world that when you come to them basically on your hands and knees saying, please ungate me from this so I can sell, right? Or whatever it is.
Is that bad?
I mean, that's kind of
it
what
does
it
feel like that at times.
But no matter what, the fact that they're letting you sell on the platform, and then to think that they wouldn't take the information and then potentially use that to their advantage, well, that's one of the reasons they're letting you on their platform in the first place, right? Like, is for that information. And so you're kind of making a deal with the devil, as it were. You're saying, like, even if it's private label, and I get people get upset with the fact that somebody can come up with a private label thing, then Amazon will use, if it's a high selling private label, they might go ahead and on top of that create their own private label of a similar thing and outbeat you on their platform and put their thing above yours. Well, it makes sense. They're going to let other people take the risk, find out what information works, what items are selling, what's not selling. And so I wouldn't necessarily call it a conspiracy, but what I would say is people have to be okay with, or figure out for themselves, are they okay with that? Are you okay with companies having your information and data? And the sad thing is, I don't think there's a way around it. Like, I don't think you can avoid this.
I think it's something you just have to understand. So I'll give you an example. I truly believe that during Q4, Amazon is looking at what items are selling that they don't have in stock. And there is somebody in the background, and this isn't a conspiracy, because if they're using the data, why wouldn't they do this? Right? And there's actually a lawsuit right now, antitrust action being taken against Amazon, and people are suing, saying, hey, you can't use our data. Right. But others are arguing and saying, well, why can't they? I mean, you decided to sell on their platforms. This is what you're doing. We actually talked about this in a podcast a little while ago. But, like, for instance, you'll have this hot toy, right, that you pick up and you're selling and you're selling. And out of nowhere, Amazon shows up. Not only does Amazon show up, but Amazon tanks that price. Right. And why? Well, something somewhere, right? Somebody saw that there's this item that constantly is selling through Amazon. Through this, whatever trigger mechanism, contacted and said, hey, we need to get this distributor. We need to get our items on our platform. We need to make this money directly. And they jump on the listing. So it is not conspiracy. And you got to think about all the technology that Amazon has. I'm sure there are multiple algorithms running to not just understand private label, but it's also to understand, the hot items by third-party sellers, to also understand the buying habits, to also understand, they know how much items you send into. I mean, think about it. The private label people have to actually talk about, where they get their items and all this stuff. So they have all that knowledge accessible, right? And so this is why, we always talk about why we love eBay. I mean, for all, eBay and the Illuminati, I'm just joking, all that's going on is I never feel that eBay is trying to take my information and sell my products to compete with me on their platform.
Right. And that's true. But at the same time, that's the deal, as it were, the deal with the devil people are making is I could sell, if I'm ungated in Legos and I can get Legos at a good price, I could sell them on eBay, brand new, or I could sell them much faster with higher profit because I'm reaching so many more people on Amazon. So if you're looking at, I'm going to make 70% more profit if I sell this item on Amazon, but they get the data and they could undercut me at some point. I mean, that's the thing people are doing. I mean, everybody, if you really wanted to, like, just create your own website, get your own information, promote it yourself, have your own advertisers. And so that, I think that's one of the things, like I love eBay. I know they're not competing with us, but that's not what they're set up to do.
Correct.
But Amazon, it's like, you can be upset that they're doing that, but at the same time, the fact that you get to be on their platform makes it worth it. Right.
Yeah. I would say yes. I mean, it's just tough. It's just the reality of it. Like right now, I have an item that's been selling for Q4 like crazy. Actually, this is an item I had mentioned before that Amazon held onto the buy box the whole time, and Amazon has not showed up. So I'm doing really well, but I'm waiting.
Yep.
Like I know, and so my costs were low enough. So this is something you got to think about. You know, this is where we're hoping to bring value, not just share conspiracy. But you have to source items at a cost that is low enough that even if Amazon is to jump on that listing, you'll still be able to undercut Amazon and still make profit, or at least make your money back. That's huge. That's one of the biggest takeaways I have from Amazon, from my, some of my failures back in the past, is that I would buy things and I wouldn't count into the fact that maybe I have to understand that this will eventually tank, and how am I going to make my money back on this item?
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is with Amazon, I mean, if you really think about it, you still own those things. You might lose some money on shipping, but you get the items back, you sell them on eBay. But realistically, they're not going to sell the same way on eBay. And that's the reason why I almost kind of look at it as if I invented a product and I sold it out of my garage, right? And I'm making, a couple $100 every week for people coming and finding it on Craigslist and coming to my house and buying this product. Or I can get it into the Walmart stores and they're going to make a deal with me for, $5 million, or they're going to order a ton of this product in their stores, but knowing that they now kind of have control of this, they can kind of set the price and manipulate it. And if they wanted to, they can make their off-brand version of it and undercut me, right? But it's like, well, I could keep selling this out of my garage and maybe end up making $10,000 off it. Or today I could sell this to Walmart, as it were, and get this on Walmart shelves and make $5 million, $10 million. But in a year, the market might be done, right? And that's what I kind of think about, like with Amazon. If you're selling on Amazon, you're getting into the big box store with your product, but there's a ton of risk with that too. But is the risk worth the payment that you get? And if it is, I almost kind of feel like you just kind of got to know that going in. You can't complain too much about it, knowing that, hey, this is the price of the game.
Real talk with Mike.
That's right.
All right. Hey, so next one I want to jump into before we get into our hustles of the week. And time is flying by on these conspiracies. All right. So Amazon, back to Amazon. Like, I think the last conspiracy episode, we were a lot of eBay, but Amazon's doing, we worry about, think about Amazon. They just lost a bid with the Pentagon, right, for their cloud services. Now they're suing, I think, or they're not happy with that. Microsoft got it. But supposedly, Amazon will in the future require facial recognition to be a seller on the platform. And this came from, this is where the story gets interesting. A guy in Vietnam supposedly was required to record a 5-second video of his face for his seller profile to be allowed. Thoughts?
Okay. No, I think
it's too close to reality.
Yeah, but okay. I'm trying to think of what the app was. It was Twitter, I think. I think it was Twitter. Maybe it was Instagram. Anyways, for my school, I was setting up a social media account that I could use to kind of promote what I was doing in my classrooms, a way of connecting to parents. But I already had my own personal account, and then we have the Peerless Podcast account. And so basically I was flagged. My phone, my IP address was flagged for having so many accounts.
Okay.
And so it was blocked unless I was able to verify my account. And the way I did it is they gave me like a code to write, and I had to like write this code down and take a little quick video, kind of like that, a 5-second video of me holding it up to the screen. And it was to say like, hey, I'm a real person. And that's a robot check. I mean, think about the way.
Wait, what social media was this?
It was either Twitter or Instagram. I can't remember which one it was.
Really?
Yeah. And it might have been just a picture. I don't know. I had to do it in front of the camera. But when I took a test thing, they do that too, to verify that you're a human. And when you do those CAPTCHAs, and in a lot of ways, that's what those are, right? And so I don't know so much. We know, like, it's very clear that certain government agencies in other countries specifically are using facial recognition things potentially for nefarious reasons.
Well, Amazon has facial recognition. Did you know that?
I mean, I'm not surprised.
They have their own program. It's called, let me look it up right here. I can't find it right now, but they've been working. They're trying to work with certain law enforcement to make it happen. I think we talked about this in the past, but I don't know the name. It's called Recognition. There's a K in it.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it, like most phones now, it's facial unlock, right? The biometric or a thumbprint or something. And there's some like programs, some apps like wallets and things like that you can't use unless you verify that it's you. So that way somebody can't take my phone, even if they have the code to unlock it, and then make a transfer on PayPal, unless, I don't know if PayPal has that, but like there's certain payment programs where you actually have to do the facial recognition or some kind of biometric in order to prove you're the one using it. And I get that can go really, really bad, really fast. But the reality is, if you don't think that there's already a profile with your face on it and you know what I mean? Like, it's there. Like they already have that. I think what we got to ask ourselves, and this is going a little bit off reselling, but just in general, like, because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Is
Conspiracies.
Is the governments already have our face. They already have our fingerprints. They already have all that stuff, right? Like they have that. Now companies are getting it. In fact, a lot of companies have more data on people than governments could have ever dreamed of having. And so the question is, okay, they have this. Is it a terrible, bad thing? In a lot of ways, I think it is. But there's nothing we can't go back and change it.
We can't be Ron Swanson. Let's put it that way. Like that's not happening. As much as I personally wish I could get away, but they know everything.
Yeah, I mean, they know they've got. I mean, if you don't think that they can figure out everything you're searching and what you look like, and in a lot of ways, you got to ask yourselves, okay, what is the good that's going to come from this? Because a lot of bad can and probably will come from the amount of information that companies have, that governments have, that's a given. But then we got to say, okay, so the deal with the devil is made, as it were. We've lost a certain amount of freedom in order for convenience. So we at least better get the convenience. And there's certain things that I can imagine is good. Like Joe Rogan sometimes talks on his podcast about like voting, right? And why it shouldn't just be on your phone. And especially now that you can do that facial recognition. If the government already has your face, boom, facial recognition, you do the vote, boom, you're good, right? And of course, there's a lot of reasons why that would be a terrible idea. But the idea is, okay, what can be done with that now? Not just a police state where the government or companies can know what you're doing, when you're doing, why you're doing it, but what are the economic benefits of that? And I think it is a good idea that if somebody's going to buy your stuff, is it a real person? Well, if they have a verified account where it's a fingerprint or a face or something, then you know, hey, this is a real person and not a fake account that's set up just to troll people or whatever.
Yeah. And I wanted to correct what I said. They don't know everything, but they have the potential to know everything.
They know many things.
Right. Yeah. And wherever well, I feel like we're a different podcast at the moment. Like,
hey, when you open up a conspiracy episode.
That is true. But it's kind of interesting because, I watched that Joe Rogan interview with Ed Snowden, and wherever you land, whether you think he's a traitor or a martyr or a hero, whether that information is true or not, right? Behind every conspiracy, there is some kind of truth. Now, the truths could be very simple ones, right? And so I don't know, but what I know is that Amazon definitely, could this be something that happens in the future? Sure. Like I don't question that. Like you said, if it's a quicker way to verify, I mean, we already are okay with that on our iPhones, right? I don't have facial recognition on mine, but a lot of people had it on their phones. I mean, it was kind of a joke for a while. And I don't know if do people still use it?
Oh yeah, it's so fast and good now. Like you literally pick up your phone and like as you move it towards your face, your phone unlocks.
Okay, so it's not conspiracy. So, and maybe it's a good thing. Like Mike said, maybe then you don't have people that can hack into your Amazon. I mean, think about the damage that can be done if people hack into your Amazon or eBay account, right? This is even better than two-step verification.
Yeah, and the way I look at it, and don't get me wrong,
Amazon has not paid us for this podcast.
Don't get me wrong. There are going to be people who think that I'm like a sellout and that I'm just like, work for the Illuminati or whatever. I am not a fan.
You and Devin.
I'm not a fan of giving up freedom. However, I think it is important people realize you can have freedom or you can have comfort. You usually can't have both. Right?
Wow. Yeah.
Quote of the week, right? So
what this is the deepest this podcast has ever got. Like we're in another realm. We're not even, this is reselling, but it's not reselling. But it's good. I appreciate it.
All right.
So, okay.
I take the hint.
No, I'm not giving you a hint. I'm just kind of going like, yeah, no, I agree with you, Mike. We think alike. So, all right. You know what? Let's go to a lighter note. It's time for, are you ready, Mike?
I wasn't ready.
You ready? Okay. So we have some more conspiracies to share, but before we do that, we actually have 4 segments of this because we want to share more. So, hey, something happened to our camera over there. Are we okay? Are we actually getting shut down right now?
I don't know. Hold on.
Do we need to pause? Okay, we're pausing.
All right. So,
what just happened, Mike?
I don't know. So all of a sudden, camera, it just went out. Then the lights went out. And then we lost like an hour and a half of time. We woke up out in the parking lot
of eBay headquarters. No, I'm joking.
Not eBay headquarters.
I know.
The parking lot right outside our studio.
I know.
And it was a scary time. But anyways, we're back. We're up. We're gone.
Okay, but let's be real. Like we had it. Something happened. The camera stopped working.
Yeah, but how do you explain the hour and a half we lost?
I don't know. But for real though, we had to stop. If you saw Mike, he had to do the clapping. Usually he does that clap, right? So you know where things ended or where to start it.
I cut all that out.
You cut that out?
Yeah.
I thought I told you should leave it in, right? So people know that this actually happened.
That's not how editing works.
Okay. All right. So anyways, we're back. You have no idea that we were gone for an hour and a half, but we're back for this episode.
That's right.
All right. And with that being said, we are back and we are ready for...
Come on, hustlers. It's the freaking hustle of the week.
I need to put my hood on now.
Yeah. You need the hood for the hustle of the week?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
And actually, we have 4 this week because we have... I don't know. We're going to go back to 3, but I thought these were so cool. I had a hard time like eliminating all of these. And we have some more coming in our next theme episode. So I'll start us off though. So Jason IG handle F Trail PT Cell. Is that spelling? I'm bad on the phonics. Does that look like it's something?
I don't know.
It looks like, if you remember, there was this like license plate show back in the day. And like you had to figure out what the license plate said. That's what I feel like with some of the IG names.
That's for sure.
Like I mispronounce them and then you read them. I'm like, oh, that's what it says. So, all right. Hey, F Trail PT Cell Jason went to the store that shall not be named, the bins, and paid somewhere around 50 cents to $1. Think about it. Our bins here, like we don't get that. They charge us like $3. Like it's very arbitrary. Like when I went, it was like, oh, that jacket, $5. I'm like, what? How'd you come up with that price? So, anyways, he went to the bin, pays 50 cents to $1 based on the pounds, right? He bought a bunch of other stuff and picked up a vintage Mayo spruce. So I've never heard of this brand. This is a bolo because I've never heard of this. Now, it's a bolo that you got to be careful you pick up. Not all Mayo spruce is good because I did some research. There's some stuff that does sell for good money and there's some stuff that, it's okay. So picked up a Mayo spruce peanuts Schroeder. Remember Schroeder, the guy with the blue blanket? All right. Sweater. It's a light blue sweater. Sold it on Instagram, right? On Instagram for $300. That is nice. So anyways, that is something to definitely keep a lookout for because definitely new bolo, something I've never heard of before. And that'd be pretty cool because I don't know if I would have recognized that. Do you think you would have recognized that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, anything vintage like that, a peanut something, I mean, it'd be worth looking up. I obviously wouldn't have known it would be worth as much money as it was worth.
Yeah. And hey, by the way, somebody has asked us before, on Instagram, do you recommend doing friends and family where people pay you through PayPal? It depends. If the dollar amount is high, you want to sell it as a merchant because then you get the seller protections. If you just sell it as friends and family and somebody sends you money and they make, you could be stuck either way. So, right. So just be aware. Anyways, there's more to that, but just things you need to think about.
That's right. All right. Our next one comes from Wilma, IG handle at endorphin seeker, endorphin _seeker. Was at the store that shall not be named a few months ago, and she picked up a board game. I'm proud of you. That's good. It's good stuff. Board games are great. An employee walked by and whispered, "It's only $1." The board game looked new and complete. It was a mint 400 off-road board game sold for $141.95 plus shipping. Bravo to you. That far surpasses my highest board game sell. You did it. You did it, Wilma.
So that game, so I looked it up. Like, it's so unassuming. It literally is an off-road. It's kind of like, not a monster truck, but it's an off-road vehicle. And like, you just play a board game with it.
Hey, man, I'm telling you, it is a niche market and board games hold their values. That's one thing. And we talk a lot about, 401 closets, right? If you're buying, if it's not just like the really, really popular ones that you can get at like Target, which there's some great niche board games that you can get at Target. But if
more now than ever before.
Oh, for sure. I mean, because it's a growing market. Like, I mean, I've been playing them for years and years and years now before they got popular, back when like Target only had Settlers of Catan, right? But it's a growing market. It's getting bigger and bigger. Like we're like in the golden age of board games right now. In fact, there's board games being made like every day. Like I kickstart board games all the time. And there are some really, really good ones. And if you pick up ones from, I mean, pretty much any big company that's putting out these niche board games and you sell them used on eBay 4, 5, 6 years later, they're selling for about the same price you get them for new sometimes, especially if they go out of print. They sell for as much or more. And even if they don't go out of print, like there's a game I want called Terraforming Mars. You can't get it used, and it's been out for like 4 or 5 years now. You can't get it used on eBay for maybe 10% discount of what it costs new, right? Like board games hold their value. So, and I'm not talking about like just, Connect 4 and those types of things. I'm talking about like the niche Go to Target, look at their board game section. You'll easily see like, wait, this stuff looks weird. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Go to boardgamegeek.com if you're interested in learning more about board games.
Or just DM Mike.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Well, appreciate that. All right. So this next one, this is a couple. They both scored on this one. So Tony, IG handle at @Disney World _dad, and his wife Tiffany, IG handle @the.best.days.ever. Right? That's like a super uplifting IG names, right? Disney World Dad and the best days ever. So they went to a yard sale. Tiffany found a Donald Duck Christmas stocking. Paid $2 thinking their daughter would like it. Checked comps after they left and saw them selling for $75 to $100. So my question is, did like the daughter have it in her hand and they just go, nope? Like I just wonder how that went down, you know? Anyways, okay.
I mean, that's kind of how that goes. Like you research something like, oh, this would be cool to have. Oh, nope, sells for too much. I'm selling it.
So in the spirit of Christmas, they sold a Donald Duck 3D Christmas stocking for $75 free ship.
I like it.
That is awesome. I always love, because our next story is going to be a similar story where, you're buying something or you walk away from something and then you realize and you go back and it still works out. Right. So nice. And, really appreciate you sharing how you worked with the team and you figured that and you made that sell. So thank you so much, Tony, that _Disney World _dad, and Tiffany, the best days ever with periods between each word.
There we go.
Thank you so much.
All right. Our next one is Craig, Instagram handle @VanHalen314. Found an ad for an estate sale 20 minutes away. Saw nothing important. Showed up last day in the last 2 hours and found nothing until he noticed there was a bunch of sealed boxes in the garage. Asked about them and found out the owner assembled timbers for landscaping water features.
Timers.
Oh,
that's my typo. Mike didn't misread that. That's my typo.
All right. Timers for landscaping water features. The boxes had approximately 1,500 motors for timers, plus a bunch of other miscellaneous parts. Could not find any comps, but decided to move on them. Was told $350, but decided to leave. On the road, his wife found one comp of a motor for $25. Turned around, offered the guy $300, and got the deal. 3 minivan full loads later, just
broke even,
averaging $20 net profit on each one. If all motors sell at the rate, potential $30,000 profit without the other stuff included. Whoa.
Think about that. When he shared this with me, I'm like, wait, did you just say 30K? 30K, right? You never know. I mean, I've had bulk buys where I made 10K on. 30K, you're talking about, for some people, that's their salary. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge deal. Now, obviously, that's going to take time.
Right.
But, he's not even including the other items. And I actually saw, he showed me his listing, and I think he just has to do one listing.
Yeah. And just think about how sad everybody else who went to that place and didn't look, and how close he was to missing it twice. Right? Like, didn't see it the first time, didn't pick it up the second time. It wasn't until the third time there that he made the deal. You almost lost out on a lot, but you didn't. And that's a hustle of the week. So
that is a hustle. And here's the other part. How many times do you go to a estate sale? Now, I do ask, but I don't know if I would have asked. I mean, these were no one asked, right? And oh man, it motivates me because you never know, right? And to me, and we've always talked about this, we're in the middle of Q4 and I'm doing all this Amazon sourcing, but there's nothing better than getting that major haul from a garage sale. You know what I mean? Like Amazon, it's like, oh, I found, 20 of these hot toys and I'm going to have to, compete with everybody on the price, and hopefully it gets to the warehouse in time, and hopefully I'll sell through on them. This one's like, I showed up. No one was looking for this. I did the research. I found it. This is a huge score, and I'm going to see this score continually. And there isn't going to be a lot of competition. So definitely nice hustle of the week, Greg. Really appreciate that.
All right. What about you?
All right. So I had one here, but I already discussed this on our live, so I wanted to share another one.
Let's hear it.
So I keep talking about this, but I find myself lately like taking more risks, which I don't recommend people do. But if you have the capital and you have kind of a knowledge base, you can begin to kind of take risk going, I I think the market is here for this item, even though there's no comps, even though I can't find anything on Therapy or Worth Point. So I was at this thrift store. Now, this thrift store alone on that visit, I went with actually Fernando, the Funky Cole Medina's, I think at the same time. Or maybe it was another trip. But anyways, I went to this thrift store and I picked up, I think I dropped $250. I've already sold probably 10 of those items and made about $1,000 already.
Wow.
From that one trip. Right. So I sold the 49ers jacket for 120. I sold another jacket for about 80. And so this one was a Polo Ralph Lauren leather jacket. And it had like the tiger on one side. It had the reflective sleeves. And there were absolutely no comps. Like there was nothing there. But there's something about it that I go, you know what? This is money. Right? It's worth it to me. And I wish I looked it up. I should have looked it up. But I know I paid no more than $30. I'm pretty sure I paid $20 for this jacket. And I listed it. And, you know, it's one of those things where you're hustling, right? August and September, October. You're like, hey, Q4 is going to be here. All kinds of stuff is going to sell. But you don't see it right away. Like you list all these things. And I've gone through this. I go through this in summer slowdown. I go through this right before Q4. But then the sales start kicking in. So this jacket sold for $200 plus shipping.
Nice.
And that's happened to me with multiple jackets like this lately. So I don't know if I'm picking up items that the market is hot. I don't know if it's because of winter. I don't know what it is. But, you know, I like those hustle of the weeks where I'm like, you know what? I've done this long enough. I know that the market would probably carry this jacket and somebody would buy it and you do it and you flip it. So,
yeah.
So, you know, if you have the capital and you've been doing this for a while, sometimes it's nice to kind of venture out and take a couple risks because it may pay off.
I think that's good.
All right. What's your hustle of the week?
So kind of like you often do vague bolos. I'm going to do a vague hustle of the week.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So, this time of the year, and I'm experiencing it more this year than I did last year because I obviously have more items in my inventory. But when we've talked about what does well Q4 on eBay, I'm finding, going back to our first hustle of the week or our second hustle of the week, board games. Like I have sold, like if I look at my sell in the last like 30 days, I've sold at least 2 board games every week.
Okay.
And for good money. Like I'm talking board games that I'm picking up and the ROI on board games is just incredible. So especially if you're getting them at garage sales or thrift stores. And the hard part is you got to know if is it complete? Is it not complete? And the crazy thing is I think I've sold 3 board games where I was just super clear in the posting in the whatever, not sure if it has all the parts. Here's the pictures of what it has. Like you're buying this knowing that it may not be complete.
Yeah.
Right. And they're still selling. I mean, I bought one was a Lord of the Rings, like an old, like 80s Lord of the Rings board game, and a board game. Like I would normally keep a Lord of the Rings game, but this one was so complicated. Like one of those old school board games that it would take probably 10 days just to try and figure it out. And then it's so clunky and it wouldn't be fun, but it's just the nostalgia of having like an old game like this. And it sold for like $60. I sold like a Stratego. I've sold a couple of
So was there something
random.
unique about the Stratego? Was it like different?
It was. I mean, it was one that was in like a wooden box.
Okay.
So that was kind of unique, I guess. Let's see. I'll give you a couple of names of them so you can kind of keep a lookout for them. One was, and you'll probably never find this, is one my wife picked up, is a game from 1976. It's called Facts and 5 Game of Knowledge. It was an Avalon Hill game. And we sold that one. I sold that Lord of the Rings game. Let's see. I sold a Seinfeld game, which was really cool.
Was it sealed?
Factory sealed, yep.
How much did you sell it for?
35 plus shipping.
Okay. So the market is still there.
Yeah, that was about what the comps were. But I think it was because Seinfeld just released on Netflix, so people are kind of getting back into it. So anyways, these are games that you're going to find every time you go into thrift store, you're going to find Twilight trivia.
That is the non-bolo of non-bolos.
Yeah, never pick that one up. But you'll be surprised how many board games there are, and they're almost always marked like a couple of dollars. And some of them you can do great if they're not complete. Some of them you need to go through and be willing to check to see if it's complete. But you never know. And I would just say the reason why it's Hustle of the Week is I've just been consistently selling board games. And it's one of those things where throughout the year I've been picking them up and they haven't been selling. And it's kind of like, okay, am I in the wrong market?
Well, yeah, it's the same thing with the jackets, right? I'm listing. They're not selling, but now they're selling. Board games, you're listing, and now they're selling.
Now they're selling.
Now, I got a question for you because board games, I don't have any knowledge on at all. I mean, I know like themed ones, like, The Office or Seinfeld do well. So when it comes, how do you know like when it's, what's the difference between, I know there's obvious ones like, okay, if it's a brand new Connect forward, there's probably no money. But what is a telltale sign of something that you should like pick up and start looking at?
Okay, so there's two things. One, and it would take a little bit of time, not much. Like honestly, I would say board games, if you're looking for like the new niche board games, is a market or a niche that you could probably learn in a half hour. I'm not joking. We're not a sponsor of the website, but go to boardgamegeek.com, and on the side they have like the top 100 board games, and just look at the top 10 or 15 and you'll get a really quick idea of what type of games they are.
Okay.
And you'll spot them. Like they're very easy to see. The other thing is vintage games. Like I'm just looking up, so November 22nd, I sold a 1990 Battleship board game.
Huh.
It was new. It was new in wrapper. Somebody never opened it. And I don't want to say I find these things all the time, but oftentimes I find old vintage board games that are kind of still sealed. And sometimes they're not sealed, but they're, you could tell they're complete. They're not a ton of parts.
Yeah. Like the plastic wrapping still there and all. Yeah.
And so when you find these types of things, I sold that board game for $44. I think I paid 50 cents for it. Right. So the two things are, one, the really new modern niche games. Those games are they hold their value. The other thing is vintage games. And then there's two sides of vintage games. There's like the classic vintage games. If they're complete and they're new, they're worth money. Or if it's like a really, really strange one-off, like something where it's like very niche, only a few people were into this, whatever hobby or whatever show that this was made off of, I would say pick it up if it's a decent price, because you might not even always find comps. Like there's a lot of times, like that one that I sold the Fact 5 something another, whatever that
I
was.
would have never picked that up.
I don't think there was the Facts and 5 knowledge game, 1976. At the time, I don't know if there were any comps on that, but it's an old game. Why not pick it up? 50 cents and it sold. So
Nice.
I would just say the reason it's a hustle is because it kind of took a while for the sales to come in, but Christmas time is a good time. My family has a tradition of buying a new board game every year at Christmas time. I think a lot of people do. And a lot of people, they're like, oh, I remember that game I used to play with my family, when it was Christmas break, and I don't have it. It was one that grandma or grandpa had, or my parents had. And so people are looking for old vintage stuff. So, and they make great gifts for people. So it's a hustle of the week because I've been able to make a lot of money off of them. And it's kind of a bolo too, because, I think a lot of people sleep on board games.
Nice. No, I agree. I just, to me, it's a patience thing.
Yep.
You have to be patient and be willing to make sure all the pieces are there and so on, but there's definitely money to be made. So thank you everyone that shared your hustle of the week. And before we get to our conspiracy, if you haven't had a chance yet, make sure to follow us on social media, dropping content there all the time. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and what's the other one? TikTok,
Twitter.
We can talk about TikTok conspiracies too. That's for another episode. But anyways, we're on there. And whether they're stealing all our Pure Hustle podcast data, don't know.
Oh, they are.
But whatever the case may be, we are Pure Hustle Podcast on all three of those platforms. We're also on Twitter as Pure Hustle Cast. You can also give us a call at our secret line, 619-738-1170. That's 619-738-1170. You could also email us an encrypted email at purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. And if you ever want to, we don't accept Bitcoin yet, but maybe we need to keep ourselves safe.
Bitcoin. Send it our way.
We do have a link below for our PayPal. Hey, thank you to all of you that consistently, donate to help us out. And, we appreciate that. We appreciate it again. Those of you that give us some dough on the super chat.
Yeah. Speaking of which, my wife told me, and I need to check and look. Maybe we should do that. We'll mention at the very end who it was. But there was a super chat we missed. She said a $10 super chat somebody sent us, and we didn't give them a shout out. So we're gonna look it up right now to see if we can figure out who you were, so we can give you a shout out, because we really appreciate that. That means a ton to us.
Yeah, sorry we missed that. Man, we totally missed that. Like I was scrolling through the chat too. But thank you guys, and thank you for all the reviews. We're almost at 200. Last I checked, we're at about 196 on the reviews in iTunes. So if you get a chance and drop us a positive review, that'd be greatly appreciated. And we are thankful for all your support since day one. Always grateful. So, hey, and if you haven't caught the live, go check out the live. It was, it was a normal podcast episode. And so it's good to listen to. And we had a lot of, great moments with everybody that tuned in at that time. So really, really appreciate that. All right. So we're going to move on with our conspiracy episode. And we're still trying to find out who you are.
I'll have it by the end of the episode.
The conspiracy of who was that $10 super check, because we want to say thank you to you. All right. So I thought this was super interesting because this is something I never thought about. So I looked this up because, you can type of eBay conspiracy and like things come up. You get stuff on the Reddit forums that show up. So this one was that eBay shows higher comps when you're sourcing on mobile to keep you sourcing to listings on eBay. Think about that though. Like, and actually people, I've seen people have discussions going like, yeah, I've noticed that too. And I'll go home and the comps are lower. What are your thoughts on that one, Mike?
Well, let's see. I just want to make sure I'm not going too far into one of our other conspiracies, but
it's number 6.
No.
Oh.
Okay. So yeah, it's not on here. So there's an idea that they have, and people have in the past have said satellites, right?
Oh yeah,
but we no longer need satellites in that sense because of GPS on our phones, which I know GPS is connected to satellites, but it is very possible that they're aware of your location, right? Like you take a picture somewhere and it automatically, and there's times I go somewhere and it's like my Google Maps will come up and like, how did you enjoy your dinner at blah, blah, blah? Like, please rate the restaurant. And I'm like, what? Wait, what the? Like, you take a picture and it automatically puts tags of your locations. And you have to turn that stuff off. So it makes sense that they know where you're at and they could manipulate stuff, but let's be honest though.
that would be genius. I don't know. Is that even? It is possible.
Well, I don't think it is because they'd have to show you real comps.
No, agreed. But what I'm saying is it's possible to do. Whether a business would put themselves out there to do it, probably not possible. Right? Because, there's obviously a lot of legalities involved if you're doing that. Or maybe there isn't. I don't know. But I thought it was interesting, right? Because I've never had that happen. The comps have been the same the moment I walk into the store and the moment I go home. That'd be pretty rough, right? Because how many of you you look up comps, but even when you're listing, you do more research. You try to figure out, okay, is this item still worth it? Should I list it as something else? So, I think it's a great conspiracy. It's a great story. Like that would make sense. Again, it's one of those things where like, is it the eBay matrix that's controlling what we do? So anyways, appreciate that conspiracy. That was a good conspiracy. All right. Are you ready for another one?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, actually we already, this is, wow. We only have, so many conspiracies left. So maybe we should go back to the first one. I'm just joking. Anyways, all right. So this is a mega conspiracy here. So a lot of people have talked about how strange it is that, I don't know, where the CEO of eBay resigns and everything just seemed to go crazy, right? And we just talked about in our last podcast, in our live episode, how what ended up happening was that eBay sold StubHub for $4 billion, right? But eBay doesn't really need its money because eBay is doing really well. It's maintaining itself, but now it has $4 billion to add, right, to its worth. So this was sent by one of our listeners, followers on Facebook, Melissa Kellogg. She had shared the idea that the CEO resigned. Glitches happened almost immediately and stocks plummeted, which all did happen.
Hey, that connects to our
Illuminati one?
Him leaving was it? No joke. # Devin didn't fire himself.
Oh my goodness. I don't think that hashtag's ever going to catch on. Let's put it that way.
It will. # Devin didn't fire himself. We all know the truth.
Well, I don't think Devin didn't fire. Devin just left. All right. Anyways,
firing yourself.
Facebook. Now here's the other one. Let's get even deeper. Facebook is pushing surveys about what they'd like on Facebook Marketplace, right? And so this is something we've talked about before. Like, is Facebook going to be the major competition for the platforms such as eBay and Amazon? We haven't seen it happen yet, but maybe Facebook is slowly working in the background. Or Here's the other conspiracy. And, I wish we could be like The Simpsons. Have you ever heard about The Simpsons and their conspiracies? How they predict things in their episodes that happen years later?
Oh, that's for real.
There's so many. Like, there's one about like Trump and him being president. There's one about a building in London that was like in the cartoon and showed up 10 years later and actually was built and they look the same. I mean, have you seen those videos? Yeah. There's a lot of them. So I hope we're not The Simpsons of reselling.
Well, if we're The Simpsons of reselling, then I want to make a prediction right now that every one of our listeners is going to become multimillionaires by reselling.
Okay, well, that's not going to happen.
Well, I mean, I know it's not going to happen, but I'm just saying, like, if we had that kind of power, like, that's what I would like.
Not that you couldn't. Right? But, that's...
How are we ever going to sell courses and teach people how to get Lambos if we don't tell them they can all be multimillionaires tomorrow?
Well, that's why we don't.
Oh, okay.
That's the whole reason. Now, here's the other part. A possible merger, right? We talked about that $4 billion available. Now, we could have a possible merger. Facebook and eBay becoming bays and working together and owning the marketplace. Like, think about the superpower that could be eBay and Facebook coming together.
Well, and the reason why I don't think this is necessarily going to happen, but the reason that gives this a little bit of like some truth to me or some gravity is when I worked at DirecTV, and I'm probably getting some of the stuff here wrong, but I remember that I think it was, I don't remember whether it was DirecTV or whether it was Dish Network. I think it was Dish Network, but one of them was buying Blockbuster, right? And it was kind of like this weird, like, why are they buying Blockbuster? And then it comes out like they own like exclusive rights to certain videos. And then they were able to then stream those videos live and so there's a lot of that potentially there, right? That not that eBay has something exclusive, like material wise that they could stream or whatever, but that if Facebook were to acquire eBay, then they already have that platform built. They've already got all the customer base. They've got a lot of that stuff done. And we've talked about information being king. We kind of assume that Amazon is the one that's kind of nefariously taking all of this information. But who's to say, even though eBay isn't competing with us, they have the information.
Well, if they were ever to merge with Facebook, they would definitely have the information.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is Facebook has certain kind of information.
Correct.
eBay has a different kind of information.
That is true. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And
okay.
Facebook is the bigger company, right?
Oh, yeah.
Hands down. And so it wouldn't be a merge. A lot of times you think of like these forces are joining, but it's often an acquisition, right? It's like, we're buying you not because we want eBay, but because we want the information, and we can build off your platform and utilize that to help make Facebook Marketplace what it's going to be. So yeah, I think there would be reasons, and especially because that wouldn't be considered like a monopoly, right? Like a lot of times when companies want to do that kind of a merger, or one company wants to buy another, it gets stopped because it's like that would create too much power. But that's like a weird one. It's like Amazon with its streaming, right? Like Amazon making deals with certain companies allows them certain access with streaming, which then gives them certain information that they could use for advertisements, and then they could do product placement. Like there's so much that gets involved with it. And so I could see why a company like Facebook would potentially say, hey, we need to buy somebody, right? And then who's the competition? Like, I don't know, Twitter, right? Like what other Instagram? And
Instagram's owned by Facebook.
Yeah, Instagram is Facebook. So like there really is not another competition like that. But like if another place were to compete, they'd have to like buy Poshmark and buy this. And if Facebook wants to compete with Amazon in some ways, they want to break into that market in the same way. Because who thought Amazon was going to break into Netflix's market?
Oh, think about it. I mean, I just know them for, I would buy and sell textbooks back in the day, right? Yep. And now it's anything. I mean, there's food services, right? Yep. Now there's, we talk about grocery arm. There's the streaming, right? There's also other products that are out there. I mean, everything, pretty much Amazon can be your go-to. Like you could, I think, just live on Amazon, right? You could buy a house, right? Not a house, but a dwelling somehow, whether it's a 10 or whatever it is on Amazon. Now, here's the other thing I will say. It sounds conspiracy, but it would be a genius move. Right? I mean, I think about right now, we're on TikTok. I kind of, okay, boomer.
Orlando loves his TikTok.
I do,
Wait, so okay, boomer, but you're not understanding. You didn't catch the reference to hashtag. Devin didn't fire
I
himself.
was so busy with FBA. So, anyways, okay. Anyways, you give me a hard time since the last podcast. So, here's the thing. All the trends are on TikTok. Like, it's crazy. Like, whatever, like, I may never hang out with any, like, I'm not in teaching, right? So, not like you. Like, I teach a class once a week, but I don't see all the trends, right? And usually the trends, right, it starts kind of like in high school, right? Because they're trying to model celebrities and be like celebrities or whatever's cool at the moment, right? So you're able to see the trends, but you go to TikTok and you find pretty much every single trend that's happening, whether it's starting a new trend or it's showing or it's kind of a reaction to a certain trend, right? So based on that, right, you kind of know what the pop culture items are that you could resell on eBay, right? Or what's going to be hot on Amazon and so on. And so, I don't know. I mean, maybe this is why Poshmark is moving in the direction of being very big on social media, understanding that social media is definitely the push for, e-commerce.
Yeah. And we remember we talked about when we had our eBay open with the eBay execs that were talking about having some kind of almost a social platform on eBay where you could go there to get your information on comic books. And there's people who write blogs and do videos about comic books. And then you can click on the stuff they're talking about. It instantly puts you to the product that you can buy. Well, if you were to add the power of Facebook with their social and combine it with the platform that eBay has for selling and the information that they have and the infrastructure that they have, you've just crushed Poshmark. Because realistically, Poshmark, and we talked about this.
I think you've crushed any secondary platform.
Oh, for sure. Well,
I mean, who could imagine the kind of data that you would have?
Well, and that puts what it does is it puts Amazon in the unique place of they've broken into almost every market and they have the foothold and they have the strong point in almost everything, but they don't have the social.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so if you could connect the reselling aspect to the social, that might in some ways give Amazon a run for its money because it's something so different. So different.
I don't know how much. I mean, it's now I would say whether, CEO resigning and the glitches and everything and stocks, whether that's connected, don't know. Right. I will say sometimes you have a lot of unfortunate events that happen at the same time and everybody's always looking for a conspiracy, but there generally isn't conspiracy. It's because we always, in our human nature, we always want to believe there's something more because it helps us kind of find comfort in that it wasn't just something crazy.
And there usually is something more. But it's not always as nefarious as people think.
That is true. Anyways, hey, really appreciate you guys tuning into our conspiracy episode. Hope we kind of brought you some value or at least some kind of entertainment during this Q4 season. Hope you're making those sales. And, we look forward to our next podcast. So with that being said, make sure to be real.
And be relevant.
And be reselling.
Peace.